Buen día. ¿Se escucha? Buen día, buen día. ¿Se escucha? ¿Me podéis decir alguien si se escucha? Callan lo tengo por allí. Hi, Dylan. Vamos a esperar un segundo. Hoy tenemos a Callan, que es otro amigo gato negro del sector y crack. Y nos va a contar un par de cosas acerca de él y en qué se especializa. Entonces, bueno, como siempre, vamos a ver si es capaz de conectarse. Esto siempre es un drama. Bueno, no es un drama, pero a ver. Dean, if you can hear us, can you connect, please? You should have there a little thing that you ask us to connect. Din. No. Fantastic.
Hey.
Hey, Dean. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too. I love hearing your voice.
Same here, brother. Listen, I hope that you're okay. I know I heard that you had a little mishappening and you're not feeling altogether too well. Was it because of overdoing exercise or what happened?
No,
You know?
you know what? So for the last week, I haven't done any exercise, and
Yeah.
I was starting to get better. I was starting to like do exercise. You know, for 24 years of my life, I did no exercise. I just drank and bartended. And then I decided to be an adult and grow up, and I started cycling and I started doing exercise, and I cut down on my drinking, and now I feel I seem to have problems. But I turn 40 next year, so, you know, like, I'm getting old. But actually, this week I did the WSET
Yes.
Spirits Level 3.
Right, nice.
So for 10 hours a day, I was sitting in one of the bar stools at my bar.
Yeah.
And I just realized when I went out to get the equipment so that I can, you know, be in bed, that actually I started to move the chair away from the table on the end of the last day and stand up because my back was getting uncomfortable. So I think it's the ergonomics of my bar stools, which might be a good excuse for me to buy some new bar stools.
Yeah, or you're gonna have to take maybe a little corner, turn it into a little office, and have like a more appropriate chair or something like that. I don't know, might help.
Yeah, well, look, I was fine. I felt perfectly fine. I was sitting at breakfast. I cooked breakfast for my family. We were having like avocado on toast and eggs.
Lovely.
And then I was sitting with my son, Axel, sitting next to me. And my wife was on a call for work. You know, she has an office in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I felt a little stiff. So I kept my waist sitting central. And I rotated my shoulders, you know,
Right.
like to try to stretch out my back. And then
Clack.
it hurt. And then it hurt more. And I stayed still. I stayed still and I didn't move. And my wife is looking at me like, what are you doing? You know, because I was in a weird position. And it got worse and worse and worse. And then I was lying on the bed. I walked into the bed. I was lying on the bed and just like it still hurts now. So little breaths like, yeah, see, it hurt. I couldn't breathe. And then we talked we called the doctor for advice, helpline, and they were like, well, what does it feel like? And they needed to speak to me.
And you couldn't hardly speak.
I couldn't speak. So then they called an ambulance, and the ambulance came, and I had two options. They said, look, it's just going to hurt. It hurts a lot for a few days, you know, all you got to do is sit still, and it's just going to keep hurting. And you put ice and heat on it, and then they were going to take me to hospital and put me on a drip.
Oh.
So my options were to be at home and be in pain, or be in the hospital and be in no pain. And I was like, I'm staying home.
Yeah, for sure.
A little pain never hurt anybody, you know.
Before I forget, allow me to interrupt you just 1 second. I wanted to be, I'm going to have to be translating some of the stuff that we are talking to the guys we're listening to, because otherwise it's going to be just a conversation between you and me catching up, which is very easy that we can do that. So I'm going to do a little introduction, then we have a few questions, and the idea is that those questions are kind of a guideline, you know, but it's most likely that we're going to just go through a conversation. So it's just a chat among friends, an opportunity for other people to get to know you a little bit better, and what you do and what you are good at it, and etc. So it will be an easy chat. So if you're okay, I'm going to just do a little introduction for the guys. Chicos, os presento a Dean Callan. Dean Callan es un amigo personal, es una persona muy reconocida en el sector, es un bartender que tiene una trayectoria internacional, ha trabajado en diferentes sitios como bartender, como bar manager, ha trabajado como brand ambassador, ha trabajado como consultor, y nos va a contar un poco de quién es y qué hace. Para mí, humildemente, considero a Dean de las personas más creativas que yo conozco, pero al mismo tiempo más productivas y prácticas que yo conozco. I was just saying here to the guys, Dean, that, well, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for taking the time. And the way I introduce you is that, sure enough, you're a great bartender and you work in some awesome places. Sure enough, you have worked for brands, or you have done some consultancies here and there or stuff like that. But to me, the way I can only think is the only way right to introduce you is that, to me, you are one of the most creative persons that I have come across. But better yet, you are very practical, you know, because I know a lot of people that they can be very creative and they have these wild ideas, you know, and these fantastic things, you know, but very few of those things, they coming to be into something, you know, into a reality. And I think you have something that I describe as a redneck way of doing things. Like when you need to do something, or you need to fix something, and if you don't have the necessary tools, you will make them up, or you will just make a solution with what you have at hand. Like, hey man, maybe we put some gaffer tape around this, and then we move it like this and this, and then it work. You know, and that spirit, to me, is something that I encourage other people to do, to look for that. I think too many bartenders have become like, oh, I don't have this ingredient, I cannot make the cocktail. That's it, end of the story. And I think it's kind of a philosophy, or it should be a little bit of a philosophy, which is an attitude altogether, you know. It's something like, mate, I'm going to make the most of what I have around me, and I'm just going to try to make the most for you as well. And that's kind of the basics, you know. So, Dean, if it's okay with you, I would like to start with just you introducing a little bit yourself in terms of your career, with the highlights, not necessarily every single step of it, but the things that made you fall in love with this thing so-called hospitality and bartending.
Do you want to hear all the highlights? How much time do we have?
No, in fact, we have only 1 hour. This thing of Instagram does this. If we actually manage, if we actually get cut off by Instagram in an hour, I will kindly ask you to get back just to say our proper goodbyes. If not, it's not nice.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yes, that's for sure. You pick a few highlights. The things that they were tipping points for you, the things that they were like, this place made me realize that I was falling in love with this career, or this place showed me something that it really changed me. I don't know, this place or this action or this brand or whatever, you know. A few things. I thought you were going to be like that.
I think I guess one of the highlights for me would have been, there's so many things. Okay, I'll go backwards. When Tales of the Cocktail, right? I went to Tales of the Cocktail, and because we as a brand had invested so much in, you know, the bartending community when I worked with Monkey Shoulder. It made sense to bring people from around the world to the kind of biggest bartender community, you know, convention that we could find. When I say biggest, I don't mean by numbers like Berlin Bar Convent. I mean biggest as in, if we're bringing a bartender who's from a small village in India and he gets to meet Dale de Groff, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And we brought like, I think 30 or so bartenders. I can't remember the number, but it was over 20 to New Orleans. And we took care of, my job was, I wasn't the brand ambassador anymore. My job now was, I just finished with Monkey. My job was just to babysit. So like, I was taking people to, you know, Alibi.
Yeah.
I was taking people to Alibi and like watching them like a hawk, you know, like, hey buddy, are you going home? You want me to walk you back to the hotel?
Proper babysitting.
And I walked one of the bartenders back to the hotel, and he was just so happy to have been there. He was so happy. He thanked me so much, and he showed me so many photos of him meeting like everyone that he'd seen, you know, on social media, but he just didn't think that he was ever going to be able to afford to fly out and meet all these people, you know? And that was a highlight for me.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, that's great.
Did you want to translate that?
Yeah, I'll translate this one real quick. Le pregunto a Dean de un par de los momentos más relevantes que ha tenido en su carrera. Dean, muy en corto, me dice de que él lo va a definir un poco hacia atrás y, bueno, él trabajó durante una temporada muy larga con Monkey Shoulder y cuando dejó de trabajar con Monkey Shoulder le pidieron de que volviera a ir a Tales of the Cocktail llevando un grupo aproximado de entre 25 a 30 bartenders a Nueva Orleans, a la convención más grande que hay de coctelería a nivel mundial o que había. Y su trabajo era ser de babysitting, o sea, de niñera, de cuidar a estos chicos. Y él me comentaba de que hay un momento muy particular, después de haber estado días allí con toda esta gente, en donde en un sitio que se llama Alibi, muy reconocido allí, que un bartender le agradeció de manera tan encarecida lo que habían hecho por él y le enseñaba las fotos que había podido conocer a sus héroes, a sus ídolos o a la gente que él tenía tanta apreciación que solo sabía de ellos a través de social media, como yo que sé, un Dale de Graff o quien fuese, que eso para Dean fue un momento muy importante.
Okay, so another highlight, and I'll be just I'll try to be a little quicker. Was Rematch.
Nice.
Which I wanted to hit like a 2-minute speed time, so I felt like you know, if I could go back to bartending, I could at least pretend I'm still fast, because that was what I was good at before. I was fast. So winning that, even though I just did what Stuart Hudson did, but faster. Yeah, that felt really good. You know, like, and the reason for it, having been away from actually full-time bartending for so long, I started to fall into a world of like being a marketing person.
Yep.
And I felt before I started working with brands that I was like a bartender's bartender. I love bartending. I love the hospitality. So I felt like I was lost a little bit towards the end of my brand ambassador career.
Mm-hmm.
And winning a bartending competition of sorts made me feel like I hadn't fully left.
Yeah, I understand.
Like I can still come home, you know?
Just to give you a little bit of context, this was last year. It was supposed to be the last ever rematch that they did. Apparently,
yeah.
This is what they said. It's going to be the last one ever, you know, I'm not doing it again, whatever. And before that, it ran for how many years, the rematch? Or how many times did they did it? Maybe some 10?
It must be
no?
10.
It must be 10 around something like that. Yeah, it rings a bell.
Yeah.
And out of those 10, you won a previous one as well, at least one.
No. So the only one I won was the rematch global in 2016. The next one, Stuart Hudson won. I messed mine up really badly, the next one. But I'd watched Rematch from the sidelines and thought I would never enter that because I'm not a, like, super kind of pour 4 bottles at one time, you know. Effectively what I would see is flair style bartending, you know, where there's a lot of like speed and less rigidity, like so I wouldn't have entered if it wasn't for Stuart. Stuart entered me. He put the money in and made me enter.
I remember that.
And he was like, yeah, I can teach you, man. Like, I'll show you what the basics are and then you'll be fine. So that felt good. But it was 2016 that I won, so it's been a while now.
I'll translate for the guys. Hay una competición, chicos, que ya no existe, que se llama Rematch. Rematch era un grupo de amigos, gente de Londres, que la organizaron por primera vez, donde hacían una competición de... the basics of Rematch was it 10 drinks and a beer, or what was it?
Nine cocktails and 1 beer, or 9 drinks and 1 beer.
9 drinks and 1 beer. Los básicos de la competición era fabricar 9 cócteles y una cerveza que había que abrir al final de todo, en el menor tiempo posible. No podías llevar tus propios instrumentos, no podías hacer trucos, en fin. Y bueno, esa competición se fue transformando en global, se empezó a hacer en diferentes sitios. In fact, they did one once or twice, I think, Dean, that I remember, where they did something that they started in Australia and then the next one was in Japan or some shit like that. And then they moved it around the globe in different times. Was it something like that when they did the global one?
Yeah, so when they do the global one, it happens around the same time, but in like, I think there must have been 30 cities around the world.
Something like that,
yeah. And everyone has to do the exact same thing with the same rules, the same way, the same kind of, they have to make the same cocktails. And the idea was, it was meant to all be on video. So if you don't have the video, if you say I did it in 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but where's the video?
Yeah, show me.
You know, because you can slow a video down and you can see how much of everything's going in and you can have an idea. But you needed to have a video to back it up. And there were judges that were surprisingly very picky about the taste of the cocktails. If you watch the videos, it looks like the cocktails are going to be a mess.
Yeah.
But like, we had like Ian Burrell, like...
Yeah.
It was like, dude, it's a speed comp. But yeah, I loved Rematch. I think... it had to end because there was a sense of, I don't know if people felt entitled, but people started to challenge the authority of the competition.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like everyone in every country thought their guy won. Like, so rather than it become bad blood, which it was meant to be just a fun thing.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
You know, I think they put it to rest because the prize money for the one I was in was like £9,000.
Yeah, man, I remember. So, nos cuenta de que esta competición, Rematch, que nace entre un grupo de bartenders, que se transforma en una cosa que es global, que la hicieron incluso las finales globales donde se hacían en 30 ciudades en diferentes horarios, donde había que mandar el vídeo con la exacta misma setup de cada uno de ellos para hacer los 9 cócteles más la cerveza. La manera que funcionaba era en que quien participaba tenía que poner, how much was the fee? 50 pounds or something like that?
50 pounds, yeah.
Yeah, 50 pounds. 50 libras había que poner como un fee de entrada, ¿vale? Y quien se ganaba la competición a nivel global se llevaba todo el dinero recolectado. Di cuenta que hace años atrás, cuando él ganó la final global, lo que sucedió era que él no estaba preparado y su amigo Stuart Hudson, que es un chico muy reconocido también del sector, también muy rápido como bartender, él pagó los 50 pounds por Dean y le dijo, yo te voy a enseñar cómo hacer esto, lo vas a hacer bien. Y Dean lo hizo tan bien que le ganó a su propio amigo Stuart Hudson. So in the year that Hudson paid for you the entry fee and kind of surprised you and said, okay, I'm going to teach you tonight and you're going to be all right and all that, he also entered the comp? So he
came second.
Oh, fuck me. That's amazing. I really like that.
He came second, but like, because, okay, in my mind, if he hadn't paid for me to go in, if he hadn't showed me what to do, like, and you know, how he does it, I wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
So I gave him half of the money.
Yeah, I remember that part.
You know,
yeah,
like,
and I thought that was great.
Because that's my kind of moral. That's the kind of position that felt right to me.
That's who you are. That's who you
Yeah,
are.
that's who I am. And also it's like, you know, me and Hudson are going to know each other for the rest of our lives. Like, I'm going to be in this industry for the rest of my life. So like, you know, I want to, even if it's not kind of the norm, I want to do things the way I believe are right. So that 20 years down the line, if one of the guys that's working with me in a bar when I'm old sees the video and it's like, man, what happened there? You know, I can tell them the story and be proud of the person that
And you
I
can
was.
be, exactly, and you can be
Yeah.
proud of them. Yeah, I understand that. I really like that. Nos cuenta que su amigo Stuart Hudson lo mete en la competición, le hace el entrenamiento la noche anterior, entran los dos a la competición, más otra cantidad de gente obviamente, y Dean gana la final global. Dean obtuvo aproximadamente 9.000 libras como premio total de esto, y lo que hizo, porque era lo que le nacía y es el tipo de persona que Dean es, él inmediatamente compartió, su amigo Stuart salió segundo. Y Dean lo que hizo fue compartir la mitad del premio con su amigo Stuart, porque sin él no hubiese ganado, sin su empuje, sin esta manera de enseñarle un poco la técnica y haber hecho el training en conjunto, él no hubiese ganado. I think that's a very nice story. Maybe I'll ask you a couple of things and we can take it from there. Dean, I know that you worked years ago in Milk and Honey. Now, Milk and Honey is kind of a staple for many things and many levels, and not everybody had the opportunity to have visit there, or not everybody maybe have even heard of Milk and Honey, but people who knows about Milk and Honey, they have a great deal of respect because it was a great school. This is the way people see it. Apart from being a great place, you know, a nice place where you have a drink, you know, and feel very special and whatnot. If you were in the other side, if you were, you know, as a bartender, it was a great school. They did a lot of things that they were very right, and they were very, I should say, maybe consistent, you know, in the way that they were teaching. That's at least the way I feel about it. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience there? Did you feel that it was really so key and fundamental for you to understand certain things, like, okay, this is real shit. This is, you know, I'm taking this serious, you know, this is bartending.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was 50-50. So the ideals of Milk and Honey at the time that I was there was that the bartender was kind of like a dispense bartender. So the bartender would make drinks very quickly, very consistently, to a flavor profile that matched the clientele we had coming in. So I guess it will have changed over time, but the guests were coming in to a members bar to enjoy the time together themselves.
Yeah.
I was learning a huge amount about making sure that I don't just build a round of drinks, they all go out to the table at the same time in good quality, right? But I realized my style of bartending is like showmanship and like talking bullshit. Like my real like love of bartending comes from when a guest comes into the bar and they're by themselves or they're not having a great day, and then they leave with a smile.
Absolutely, yes.
And I know without a doubt that we did that. Like, and when I say we, I could be the only bartender on, but I mean, if I don't have a bar back and a good bar manager and like a good, you know, floor person, then I get super stressed out. And me, when I panic, I become aggressive. And then I'm not good with customers.
No.
You know, so when I say we, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm the only bartender on, the team helps the whole, you know, system run.
Good.
So for me, like I loved Milk and Honey for the knowledge. Every first Tuesday we had tests. They're constantly upgrading the bartender's knowledge. They're constantly testing your nose to make sure you're able to differentiate between whiskeys and you know, Scotch whiskey and American. But the ethos of the bar and the interaction with the guests wasn't what I was expecting. So I didn't last very long, to say the least.
I'll get back to that one because it's also something that I wanted to mention. Just one second. Chicos, le pregunto a Dean de un periodo particular de su carrera profesional fue el que trabajó en Milk and Honey. Milk and Honey es un sitio que tiene un reconocimiento a nivel mundial, que además de ser un sitio que es un club privado, un club de miembros, al que también se puede llegar a acceder aunque no seas miembro en días y horarios particulares, es un sitio que tiene una excelencia de servicio, pero más allá de la excelencia de servicio tiene o ha generado una escuela muy consistente. La gente que ha pasado o trabajado por Milk and Honey han conseguido tener un nivel de educación en el bartending muy elevado y muy profesional, muy altísimo. Dean nos contaba de que había muchas cosas, ¿no? De que cada martes, por ejemplo, se les hacían una serie de test a los bartenders, de que se les hacían constantemente preguntas o pequeñas pruebas a nivel olfativo para poder diferenciar desde, yo qué sé, un tequila a un mezcal o un whisky americano a un whisky escocés, etcétera. Y que había una sensación de altruista de tratar de hacer lo mejor posible en el menor tiempo posible. De hecho, la manera de trabajar en Milk and Honey es un bartender siendo un dispense station. Esto quiere decir de que cuando hay una mesa de 5 o 7 o 10 personas, independientemente de la cantidad de cócteles que ellos ordenen, todos los cócteles han de salir al mismo momento en la temperatura perfecta y presentación y sabor perfecto, que eso es muy complicado y eso es lo que se llama construir rounds. This is what is it called? It's called round building or build rounds.
It'd be round building, I guess.
Round building, yeah, round building.
Like to give you an example,
Mm-hmm.
the greatest order I ever got in my life was from Nico de Soto.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and they weren't on the menu. Okay, so these cocktails were only one of them was on the menu, but he ordered a Blue Blazer,
Mm-hmm.
a Ramos Gin Fizz, a Tom and Jerry, and the Business, which is like a bee's knees, all at the same time. And I was like, oh,
Thanks, mate. Yeah.
I can't laugh. I can't laugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You okay?
And the guy that took the order wasn't me. It was oh my God, wait. Tim Phillips. All right.
Right. Yeah.
I was trying to figure out which person it was that actually definitely come and got me, because I don't want to mess this up. But Tim Phillips came and said, "Hey, Dean, you like wanky orders? Come make a drink order." And then I had to try to figure out how to build that, and that was, it was tough.
It was tough for sure.
But it was amazing. It was super cool. Yeah, we got it. We got it in the end. The Tom and Jerry was cold, but we got it.
Oh, that's fantastic. And a couple of things on the whole Milk and Honey thing. Is it true that they had a system, I don't know nowadays, right, where, by these testings that they were doing either weekly or every now and again, you will get, like, not promoted, but you will get an increase on your salary?
Yeah. You get a pay increase. As you prove consistently that you can put the cocktails out of good quality, because sometimes the bar manager will watch you make a round of drinks, and just before you're straining you're serving the drink up, they'll taste them, and if they're not right, they'll throw them out and make you do them again. You're not gonna advance if this keeps happening.
Yeah.
But you had to have your knowledge tested regularly, and then you had to have your nosing and stuff. But you can then go for a test to become, instead of junior bartender, senior bartender.
Yeah.
And it's largely based on knowledge, but that was 10, 11 years ago, and the structure was built 15 years ago. So yeah, you got paid more as you proved that you knew more and were more capable.
Ok, fantástico. Nos cuenta Dean un poco de la estructura que tenían en Milk and Honey, nos cuenta alguna anécdota también, nos decía de que, bueno, lo que se hablaba antes de round o building rounds, que es construir todos los cócteles que te pidan en una misma orden al mismo tiempo y que salgan todos en la temperatura perfecta, etcétera. Es muy complicado, y que ellos además, bueno, tenían muchas veces clientes que pedían cosas que no estaban en carta, que pedían muchos cócteles que eran clásicos, pero que eran muy complejos. Nico de Soto, una vez, que es un bartender muy reconocido de Francia, pero que vive en Nueva York, Nico fue un día y pidió una orden de 5 o 6 diferentes drinks, donde entre ellos había un twist de un business, había un Ramos Gin Fizz, había un Blue Blazer. What else it was there? A Tom and Jerry and...
Tom and Jerry and the business, which is like
The
business.
business, yeah, okay. Y todo esto lo pidió al mismo tiempo. Entonces al bartender que se lo pidió, que era was it Todd Phillips, the bartender who got the order?
Tim Phillips.
Tim Phillips, sorry. Tim Phillips fue el bartender que recibió esta orden y él, para sacarse el marrón de encima, fue a buscar a Dean y le dijo, oye Dean, ¿a ti te gusta hacer drinks de cuando la gente es un poco pesada, no? Y entonces le pidió que él lo tuviera que hacer. Y Dean dice que fue uno de los momentos más challenging, más de desafío de tener que construir eso, de cócteles que eran todos clásicos, hechos a la perfección, en el menor tiempo posible y en la mejor temperatura posible. Dice que clavó un 90%, que finalmente uno de los cócteles no tenía la temperatura perfecta, pero que sí. Nos cuenta de que en Milk and Honey también había un sistema en donde te iban incrementando el sueldo mes a mes, dependiendo de las pruebas que tú pasaras de conocimiento y las pruebas que tú pasaras de la calidad de tus cócteles. Si los cócteles no estaban on point, no salían a la perfección, te los devolvían, te los volvían a obligar a hacer hacia atrás, pero también te prohibían de tener una promoción de que pudieras subir tu sueldo o subir el escalonado que había dentro de Milk and Honey. I think Milk and Honey is a great place. I enjoyed it very much, especially, I haven't been there for years now, but probably it's my fault because I don't feel that I have friends working there anymore, and maybe because I'm too old. But I used to go quite often, especially with Manuel. You remember Manuel? Big fan Manuel from Mexico, who's now in Australia. But one thing that it always recalled my attention, especially when I used to take some people like from Spain or Italy or other places in these trips that I did to London. When we went to I think it was called the Red Room, within upstairs, you know, to my people, to the guys that I was taking, it was almost shocking, the fact that, you know, you get a very cool bartender to come and talk to you and say, hey, how you doing? You know, what can I do for you? I can offer you this and the other, you know, super perfect service, but then disappear and make the cocktails. You could hear them. You could hear the guy making the cocktails just around this little curtain thing around the corner, you know, and shaking and steering and doing this and the other, and then show up with your complete order, whether if it was 5 or 10 drinks, doesn't matter. But my guys, my bartenders, they were like, why can I not see the bartender? Why is he hiding there? What's wrong? Why did they not just open the curtain or put a bar here? You know, what is going on? And I said, well, this is the Red Room. You know, this room is designed to be this way. You know, the bartender is not participating as a part of the action in this specific room. You have then the bottom one and the top one or whatever. But that to them, it was kind of shocking. And I think that was something that made me question if, if Milk and Honey was my place or not, you know, as a customer, as a visitor, as a guest, all right? It made me question, I mean, I get it, I love it, I respect, like, hugely, immensely, you know, the whole thing about Milk and Honey, but I didn't felt any longer if it was my place, you know?
Yeah, you know, so for me, I think my place is somewhere between the idea of the Red Room and, like, Covent Garden, so like, you know, London Cocktail Club, right?
Right.
So like, I want to sit in the comfortable chairs and have delicious drinks served to me, but I also want to be able to see from a high down onto the bar everything the bartender's doing. So because it's like when I go to a bar, I go to a bar for the theater of going to the bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like I want to see.
But you also need to have drinks that they are on point.
Exactly. Yeah.
You cannot just have the theater and then go, that's not nice.
Yeah, I think that the Covent Garden guys, the London Cocktail Club guys' drinks are good. The thing that gets me is, you know, I want to be able to see the bar from the booth, you know, and have that, like, I guess, a VIP space in a party bar, you know. That's me getting older. you know.
No, but I can, well, maybe I'm just realizing that it's also me getting older if I'm saying, yeah, I agree with you, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
We don't want to be in the mosh pit at the concert anymore. We want to be in the VIP area,
Yes,
looking
yes.
at the mosh pit. There has to be a mosh pit. There has
Yes.
to be a wild party going on,
Yeah,
because we get
yeah,
the energy. You know, the energy flows up. But
yeah.
I don't want to get sweaty.
Yes, I get what
Yeah.
you mean. Dean nos hace una definición que me parece muy interesante, que él dice, me encanta Milk and Honey, me encanta lo que ofrecen. Ellos tenían un cuarto, habían 3 diferentes plantas, diferentes bares, y había uno que se llamaba Red Room. El Red Room era un sitio con unos sofás y unas sillas impresionantemente confortables, cómodas, con un servicio muy, muy exquisito, donde el bartender venía y te decía, ¿qué necesitas? ¿En qué te puedo ayudar? Te ofrezco esto, te ofrezco lo otro, pero luego el bartender desaparecía. Y no había un bar, había una pequeña habitación a la vuelta con una cortina en donde el bartender agitaba su coctelera, preparaba los cócteles y te los servía. No tenías el placer o la interacción de ver al bartender trabajar. Y esto era o podía ser un poco un pequeño shock, ¿no? Entonces Dean me decía, mira, yo me encanta el servicio de Milk and Honey, me encanta la decoración que tiene, ese cuidado tan especial que te hace sentir como que estás en un sofá de casa, con un sofá de muy buena calidad, de cuero tal vez o lo que fuera. Me dice, pero yo quiero un poco de rock and roll. Yo voy a un bar porque busco un poco del teatro, de lo que me ofrece el bar, pero también necesito que cuando me bebo mi copa esté buena, mi drink esté bueno. Entonces, si puedo conseguir eso y a eso sumarle de que no necesariamente la decoración, pero el setup, ¿no? De que por ejemplo, los muebles que están allí sean confortables y me den una sensación de calidad, ese es mi bar en mi cabeza. I think that we're already doing, you know. It takes me kind of to the next question that I have in my head, and this might be a little bit cheeky, the question. So feel free to tell me to go and fly a kite if you don't like it. But I've been lucky enough to be in your house, in your cabin. I think it's an amazing place. I will let people know a little bit more in detail in a minute. Your bar has a little bit of that, what you just described. You know, it's both comfortable yet relaxed. You get to see everything that the bartender is doing from any angle. It's a small place. Well, it's not any bigger than my bar. My bar is just this.
All right, yeah. But your bar looks amazing.
Thank
and you
you.
have a real bar. You make money.
Well, we're trying to right now, but my question is, I know, and I had this conversation with you in the past, that you've been talking or thinking or willing or chasing the idea of having your own bar. And you had the cabin, or you built the cabin in order to practice and tailor every detail the way that you wanted, and then change things the way that you wanted. So then when you can finally open your bar, you can say, no, I want this little drawer to be this way because of this reason or because of this other one, which I think is great, because if you can do it, this is the greatest research that somebody can do, you know. But when you're gonna open a bar, I need that bar in my life.
I kept putting it off because, like, I keep thinking I can open a bar at any time in my life. Like, when I'm older, I can open a bar. But like, now is the time for me to, like, kind of, you know, figure out what it is what style, you know, of bar it is. And when a couple of years ago we decided to have babies, and my wife works 24/7. She's a lawyer. So one of us needs to make sure we're home for the children, you know, like at least the first few years, I want to make sure I'm home for my little guy. And my desire to own a bar started to kind of, like, the more I looked into the reality of it, especially in London, the more I realized the place that I wanted to have was going to be very difficult, if impossible, to open, because my idea was like, I need millions of pounds and a huge space. So I started looking for spaces first. But now this pandemic has made me realize, at the moment, I'm a consultant. Right. And as a consultant, everything I do is under a non-disclosure agreement, pretty much. Like, I don't do events that I can share with everyone and say, hey, check out the thing I'm doing. And that has made me feel during the lockdown super alone.
Right.
And the thing that's helped me is what I thought I was doing to kind of keep other people active. I started doing the show, the live show, and the community within the live show, the people that are commenting, the conversations I'm having going back and forth,
Yeah.
reminded me that the reason I love the hospitality industry is because of the hospitality industry itself.
Yeah.
Like, I love being part of an industry that is about making people feel good. So it's made me want a bar more, to the point that instead of waiting for this massive dream place, I'm more willing to open anything I can,
Okay.
and try to build it up, and show that I can run a business, because at the moment,
Right.
I'm terrible at running a business.
Okay, I'm going to translate this, but while I'm translating this, you know, I guess, you know, probably crossed your mind 100 million times that you never thought that, you know, with the network that you have, with the people that they are actually willing to go, you live a little bit outside of what it is, you know, central London. It's not that far, really, if you think about it, but, you know, it's a little stretch. But the people that are willing to go and see your place and enjoy, you know, your company and whatnot, you never thought of actually making it maybe not so legal, but making money out of your little cabin and just say for example, I'm just gonna open on Thursdays. That's it. I'm making it out. You know, like
The cabin has to be. I can't charge people for drinks, because the cabin. Maybe the show I could try to get some sponsorship or something to keep me going, but the cabin is for me because let me describe it a different way. You know Michael Jordan, right? I'm not comparing myself to the guy, but he has a basketball court in his home, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, bartenders, if bartending is your passion, then you should have a bar in your home. Like, or at least the ability to make your guests coming around to your house cocktails. That's your passion. People play football when they're kids, right? Football's their passion. They don't, because they don't make money out of it when they become adults, it doesn't mean they stop being passionate about football. You know, whereas bartenders, they tend to start bartending already being paid.
Yeah.
You know, like, and the world is changing. There's people in social media that are, you know, making careers out of being virtual bartenders. They never actually worked in a bar. But to me, if bartending is your passion, then you know, true bartending, outside of earning money, bringing people. You've been to the cabin. I can pour anyone whatever I want without any worry about how much I'm pouring them, repercussions. I need to replace it, but that's coming from me. And sometimes people sponsor me. Like, you gave me some really nice bottles and stuff, and then I can share that with other people. To me, there's a purity in it, and that pure bartending is like, it's more of like having a faith or like following a sport, you know. So that I need that purity so that I can bartend like the way I want to. And I'm learning a lot about myself, my style. I'm putting more things on tap. I'm pouring more champagne.
Nice.
You know.
Nice. I'm going to translate very quickly for the people, and but meanwhile, then I'd like to ask you a couple of things about the show. You know, how's it going? What had you learned? Is it growing? Do you think that it can be a wider platform? A few learnings that you have on this. Give me 1 second to translate for the guys. Le pregunto a Dean un poco más de otro proyecto que tiene desde hace un tiempo atrás. Dean ha construido, in very short, this cabin, you built it yourself, and then you kind of increased it and made it more and more complex rather than bigger, I suppose. When did you start it, or when did you say, I have my cabin, I can now start filling it with?
December 2014.
2014, so 6 years ago, right? Hace unos 6 años atrás, en su casa de Dean y de su mujer, Electra, en la parte de atrás se construyó lo que se llama normalmente en Inglaterra un shed, que es un sitio donde tú guardarías las herramientas, pero él hizo un big shed, donde él lo que hizo es tener un espacio lo suficientemente grande, práctico y funcional, donde no solamente tiene un bar que es absolutamente maravilloso, es con una selección de alcoholes muy buena y con todos los trucos y herramientas y espacios necesarios para uno o máximo dos bartenders estar detrás de la barra y tener una barra alrededor de él para... How many people can you fit in your bar comfortably?
Well, now with all the gadgets, maybe like 10 or 12, but the most we've ever had in the bar was 25.
Oh, fuck, that's a big number for that place there.
Yeah, we had the Christmas party for the Savoy Hotel, American
Right.
bar.
Nice.
So all the bartenders from the American bar. On that day, there was no one working in the American bar that actually worked full-time in the American bar. The Beaufort covered them.
Nice.
It was pretty epic. It was.
I think... Well, then I brought a group that it was quite large ones. I think we were at least 12 as well.
Yeah.
One of the times that I went there to visit you. And thank you for that, by the way. Esta cabina, esta cabaña que ha construido Dean puede tener 12 personas confortables, pero también ha tenido grupos más largos. Ha llegado a tener 25 personas. Tuvo al staff completo del American Bar para celebrar la fiesta de Navidad interna que él ofreció para la gente del American Bar, del Savoy Hotel, en su cabaña, que es al mismo tiempo su bar. Hay una plataforma que se llama The Dean Callan Show, que podéis ver en YouTube, que es un programa que hace Dean. How often are you releasing new chapters now in the
It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I think this might be the Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 p.m. in the UK, so maybe 6:30 your time. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do it today. There's a lot of, because I do it by myself, there's a lot of moving around to activate the cameras and move things. So I might have to miss today because if I don't, I can't move.
Why don't you do like you know, I've seen lately some people doing like readings. You know, why don't you do a reading of something that you know is very interesting or something like that?
Well, a part of me wanted to like do an interview with a couple of industry people whilst playing PlayStation.
Right.
but I realize now I still need to do a lot of work to loop in the PlayStation in the cabin to be able to go live with it. I can't really do it from here, so I think I might have to miss tonight.
All right.
No one's going to mind. I don't think anyone's going to care.
No, but then you can make the time up. It shouldn't be a problem. Dean hace un programa que se llama The Dean Callan Show en YouTube. Lo podéis seguir porque es muy interesante, es muy interactivo. Es un programa que sucede desde su cabaña o su bar que tiene en casa. Así podéis ver lo que tiene. Además de ser un bar espectacular, muy bien construido, con muchos gadgets, con muchos pequeños espacios y muchas cosas que puede enseñar, es muy educativo. Un día habla de la fabricación de hielo transparente, otro día habla de un cóctel específico, otro día habla de round buildings, otro día puede hablar con un bartender reconocido o de una técnica. Es muy, muy, muy educativo. Pero además de esto, Dean ha construido dentro de su cabaña, de su cabina, un estudio. I will say professional studio. You probably knowing you will say like, no, it's semi-professional or something like that. But I think your studio as such, you know, the equipment that you have, how you have located everything, how could you control everything or most everything from your bar, is fucking amazing, man. It's really something.
It's getting really good. I can't wait for you to be able to see it in real life, because when you see an episode happen in real life, like what I'm doing, it's like pretty stressful.
Yeah.
It's especially when things go wrong. But I'm tempted to do a virtual reality, like 360 version of what it would be like to sit in a seat and then just do an episode and then upload that separately, you know? But I don't know if people would find it entertaining.
I don't know. You can only but try. But I found personally the whole, you know, 360 things when I have seen it and tried it, I found it a bit dizzy. After a few minutes, I go like, whoa, you know, a little bit spacey. as an example, Dean, of what I personally think that you have helped and encouraged other people to be creative and a little bit redneck, you know, what we were talking earlier on. I show you something very quickly. So up there in the top, I don't know if you can see, is that small light that is, you know, this is the light that goes into a drink. This is your idea. And I took inspiration from you. And I'm not the only one. You know, our dear friends from Chish Max, they have the same. And I love the fact that we are doing that, and we all paying up. I mean, at least me, and I know that Mo at Chish Max is doing the same. We all paying, you know, our respects to you and saying, yes, this was Dean Callan's idea, and he came to Barcelona one day and he made it happen in Chish Max for just a few hours, you know, because he brought, I don't know, half his tools and just built the whole fucking thing, you know, in a few hours. And what I want to ask you about this, Dean, is, like I said at the beginning, I consider you to be a very creative person, but also very practical, you know, to make things happen. In the time that you work for Monkey Shoulder, which is a big, strong brand, and I consider that you, not solely, but you helped a lot building that brand. And part of the respect that that brand got, it was because some of the tools, activations, ideas, and even POS materials, they came from your head plenty of times. And you went from, oh, how about if I do this or I do the other? And then later on, or a few months down the line, or even next year, you will see it in reality. Like the whole thing about that, the syringe, that to me was mind blowing. I remember when I saw it. When I saw it the first time, it was, you and I, we met randomly in Cocktails of the Cocktail through our dear friend Jim Wrigley. And we hung around for a day or two or something like that. One day we went to your hotel room and you showed me this brand new like backpack that you have made for Monkey Shoulder. With, you know, the cocktail shaker and a muddler and this and the other. But you had a few things that they were very different. And I went like, hold on, what is it? And when you showed me the syringe thing, it wasn't even the final model. It was still like kind of handmade by you. You know, like you read naked. You know, you just put a thing and you made it up and all that. And you told me, and I said, listen, is it okay if I just try this idea at home? And you say, yeah, of course, try it. And I did it at home. I actually got a little, I gotta say it, a little marijuana pipe, you know, and I kind of broke it. That's how I did it. You know, and I just, you know, cut the top of the syringe, you know, the actual needle thing, and then I put it there, you know, and I read naked, and for some time this is when I was like heavily traveling and doing the whole brand ambassadorial thing myself. I will show this to people, and I will go, what will you do? You have to smoke a cocktail and you don't have a smoking gun. Can you fix that? Will you just turn around, you know, I don't know, your glass upside down and just burn a little rosemary and that's your way of smoking it? Can you think of something else? And then I will show this and I will say, these are things that most likely you have at home or you can buy around your home and they're not that complicated, and look what it can do. And I show it to people and I will say always, you know, this is from my friend, Dean Callan. And people were like, oh my fucking God, this was in front of me and I never realized that I could do things like that. You know?
Yeah, I do that a lot. I take things that, but it starts, okay, the creativity is problem solving. That's the way I see it. So for example, I wanted to have a drink and I wanted a big piece of ice, and then I wanted the liquid to be here and I wanted smoke on top. But I wanted the smoke to be heavy enough to sit, and I wanted the smoke to be cold. Right? Like, I don't like, you know, hot smoke. If you ever smoked like hot smoke, it's disgusting. But when it's a big cigar with a big ring gauge, it comes, more cold air is coming through, it's better. Yeah. So I created it to solve that problem. Originally, what I did was, you know, photography, the way you get those round rubber things and they have a little pipe and you squeeze the rubber and air comes out. Originally, I crushed one of those, put the smoking pipe on, and released it, but it wasn't enough suction, and it leaked. So that's why I moved to the syringe model. But there's been, like, I could show you inventions that I've come up with to solve problems, or that I want to, you know, in consultancies I've done. One of them in particular, I think, is like the greatest thing ever, and people that I've given the idea to are not interested. Like, oh, that won't work. And I'm like, it'll work. But, you know, you need to have faith. So the syringe, a lot of people didn't have faith in the syringe because it looks like drug paraphernalia. So that was a difficult one.
It was a tricky one in the legal department.
And even the spoon, like people didn't have faith in the spoon because if you look at it, it looks cheap.
Right.
And I was like, it is cheap. But, you know, it's not the Macallan ice spoon. It's the monkey shoulder ice spoon. Like, we're approachable. Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you think the people drinking monkey shoulder own Ferraris? No. It's a democratic malt. Yeah. So yeah. Always remember though, creativity is two things. Like, if you want to be creativity and you want to be creative and you want to be practical, like you said, and take two things that exist, then you need to have a problem to solve to begin with, you know, and you need to study as much everything you can, because if you're learning how things work from all different angles and you're looking at the way chefs use things and the way mechanics use things, then you can start to connect two things together.
Yeah.
And those two things that connect will lead to solving the problem that you had. You know, MacGyver stuff.
MacGyver stuff, I like that. Let me just quickly translate. Chicos, hablaba con Dean un poco de lo que considero que es parte de su esencia y de su superpoder, que es ser creativo pero ser práctico, conseguir de que las cosas sucedan. Yo considero de que Dean, cuando trabajó en Monkey Shoulder, o el tiempo que ayudó a Monkey Shoulder, participó de esta marca, él ayudó muchísimo a que la marca tuviera de que la marca se reflejara sobre un poco su persona, su personaje, y que la marca fuera reconocida a nivel mundial. La marca también tuvo el acierto de apoyar a Dean en sus ideas. Pongo un ejemplo en concreto. Cuando yo conocí a Dean hace unos 8 años atrás en un Tales of the Cocktail, a través de un amigo de Jim Wrigley, nada, estuvimos allí compartiendo un tiempo, bebimos un par de copas, una tarde fuimos a la habitación de hotel de Dean. Él me quería enseñar una mochila nueva que había diseñado con materiales de coctelería que tenía, de Monkey Shoulder, donde tenía cosas normales como una coctelera, un muddler, etcétera. Y me enseñó algunas cosas dentro de ese equipo que eran únicas. Había una que era una jeringa de cocina, que son unas jeringas más grandes, que tienen una aguja bastante más gruesa, que son para rellenar. Those syringes are meant to be for filling sauce into I don't know, a turkey or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Un tipo de jeringa que se utiliza para rellenar con salsa, pues cuando vas a hacer un pavo asado o cosas de estas. Y lo que Dean hizo fue cortar la aguja de esa jeringa y poner el final, la parte que absorbe el humo de la pipa metálica de una pipa de fumar marihuana. Pero lo que él estaba buscando no era una parafernalia que representara las drogas, sino que él estaba buscando una solución a un problema. Dean define la creatividad como la necesidad de resolver un problema con nuevas prácticas o nuevos elementos que tengas alrededor tuyo, que es un poco lo que yo siempre he definido desde mi punto de vista, un poco como este redneck bartending, en el sentido de resolver lo que tienes alrededor tuyo. La jeringa estaba allí porque Dean decía, quiero tener una copa donde que el hielo esté hasta aquí, hasta este punto, el alcohol, el spirit o el cóctel esté hasta este punto, y que por sobre el alcohol esté sentado una capa de humo que sea lo suficientemente denso y pesado para que se mantenga abajo y no esté demasiado volátil y se vaya. El humo, cuando está demasiado caliente, se transforma en algo un poco desagradable en lo que es el paladar y la boca, pero cuando el humo está más frío porque tiene menor temperatura, se vuelve un poco más agradable. Dean, you also you know your bit or two on smoking cigars, so I guess in that particular scene about the syringe thing, you apply some of that knowledge, like you were saying before. I prefer it to have, a heavy smoke, but it was a little bit colder rather than a really hot smoke. And I think that comes from your knowledge on cigars as well, no?
Yeah.
So just to finish here, entonces él lo que quería era conseguir un humo que fuera muy denso, muy pesado, pero que se mantuviera sobre el vaso, sobre el spirit o sobre el cóctel que él fabricara. Y la manera que lo hizo fue simplemente utilizando esta jeringa para poder extraer el humo mientras absorbía mucho aire al mismo tiempo y dejar ese humo dentro de la jeringa. Luego le saca la parte esta de